thought with that thing blinking.
It's working!
How about that? We're here.
Isn't technology wonderful?
We do this every week, so why?
Yeah, why is it different?
Yeah.
We should have used my phone, but Sister Keysecker insisted on...
Sister Keysecker.
To hell. I always say, why don't we use your phone?
Because I like to text people. They'll ask me questions directly because they don't want their names in there.
Right.
That's what it is. Let's just go with that.
Right.
Thank you for joining us, FCF family and friends.
Oof.
Pastor Randy, Pastor Kim, yours truly in the Q&A cave.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to say something about service on Sunday.
I think we do too.
That was an incredible service.
It was wet and it was wild.
Wow.
It was an incredible service. Baptized, was it 25 people?
I think so, 24, 25, yeah.
And
How about they tell us what they thought of it?
Yeah.
What's one word you would use to describe it?
Describe baptism. I'm getting messages there.
We
like I said.
we almost had 24 and a half. One person had a lot of resistance.
They were fighting going down.
They were fighting for their life going down, but I won the day.
Yeah.
The irony is, why am I here? I'm trying to get to the church's page so I can see your comments and see who's watching with us and see if we're even online. We may not even be online.
Oh.
Are we on your page, Pastor Kim? Oh, no, we are live.
Okay.
There he is. And there's people watching.
All right.
Okay. Kaylee Lambert, what's up? FCF, I'm going to go ahead and mute the sound. Stephanie Struby, what's going on? Miss Bonnie, sometimes. I don't know what she's saying there. Amanda Brown, good afternoon, y'all.
Good afternoon.
What's up, Manders? Denise Boone, hello. Kathy Kedney, is that who? No, Keeney. Is who
Kedney.
Who gave you the...
That was William Keeney.
Keeney, not
Keeney.
Kedney.
Not
Keeney. It's different.
Yeah,
Just a little.
I brought something to share with you guys.
Okay.
That I was given this as a gift 2 Sundays ago. Safe and healthy, so it's a germ killer.
No way. So that for real? You probably just blinded me.
I know, I probably did.
It literally says on it, don't aim at the skin.
Yes.
So let's see. This
I don't know.
caution, do not look at light or use
knew
on
it.
skin.
Sorry about that.
It's me, Pete, over here. And it
Why are
beeps
my
at you.
eyes burning so bad?
What do you guys think?
Is it-
So,
So I got a train one day. I
man, don't
I
turn
understand the train. Yeah, I know.
that laser beam toward my eyes.
Okay, so
Anyhow.
were they suggesting that Pastor Randy and I are dirty and that you would need to be cleansed from us?
I think so. That
Whoever you were, may the dung of 1,000 camels rest on your head. That was a little aggressive. That was a little aggressive. Is there no balm in Gilead?
Is there?
you know, I have something else to tell you too. I wanted to bring this little thing. My dad sends me the funniest little things by
Yes.
email. So he sent me one last week after Q&A. Something about how many words a man uses and then how many
Oh.
words women uses. You know, which is very. You know,
Right,
women use a
right.
lot of words, and men are
20,000,
like,
yeah.
I think this even said like 30,000, and then
30,000,
men are
20,000.
like, you know, a third of that or something. And I'm like,
That's not always true.
Not
not in this case.
Yeah, that's not.
So I was going to take it and
They're
cross
always-
it out.
Always those that break the
Yeah.
rule.
Break the
Break the
mold.
mold.
Ashley Federico, what's going on? Amazing. Love getting to share baptism with kids in our room. Oh, yeah, I heard that. That they actually, Ethan told me, our son said that they watched. I'm curious how you connected. Did you watch it via the stream online? Did you use the broadcast that we run inside? Actually, I meant to ask you that, if you don't mind. Shoot it in there. Lindsay Vi, what's
Yeah,
going
the
on?
kids watch.
Oh, that's
So,
wonderful.
cool,
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids got to watch it. Miss Becky Ann. Was Miss Becky the one that gave us the train?
Choo, choo. It's already gone off track, hasn't it, Becky?
It did not take long. You want to tell them, Pastor Randy, how I dislocated your shoulder on Sunday?
No,
No? You're gonna give me a pass?
I'll give you a pass.
All right,
Because
just
it's
once.
humiliating for me to have to acknowledge that
You
I have
think
a
so?
bum shoulder. Yeah.
No, I think it's just your goofball of an Italian.
I want to say it was
Worship
just because he hugged him so hard.
Yeah, my
I got in there a little.
my hemispheric whatever it is didn't appreciate
Well,
the hard
that's
hug.
the wrong way. As soon as you mentioned your shoulder, I thought, man, that's like the worst way to push a shoulder. Like even this isn't as bad, but
Yeah.
like up
Yeah,
and
to
in.
compress
that's
it,
what
yeah.
I got in there a little.
It was
tight.
the perfect damaging technique.
It undid all the physical therapy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That
We
money
know you've been in therapy.
down the drain. I've been
How
in
wa-
We
therapy for
announced that last
something.
week.
How was therapy?
Therapy was interesting.
I actually feel like Pastor Randy, following our if you didn't watch Q&A last week,
Can I just say something?
absolutely.
You may want to hold on that subject because my text for this week's message literally deals with someone having a bathroom episode. You didn't know that was in the Bible, did you?
In the cave, right?
In the
In
cave.
the cave.
It's true. Oh,
King
yeah.
Saul
Yeah,
goes into the
David.
cave
He cuts the.
to relieve himself.
So I can't.
So that lends itself to me telling a story this Sunday.
Are you gonna share that story?
I am.
Oh, I love it. I was at Home Depot. I'll push this side down so our heads are even height. I was at Home Depot this week, and yeah, there you go. Slide it back. And there was a large section of chain, and I thought, after this Sunday, in this room, there will be a train and a chain with a key attached to it. And we're just going to leave it at that. We'll circle back to it. You can tell the story on Sunday?
You know, you wear a little something around your neck. I wonder if I could just wear a big chain around my neck
it's a
with a
great
key.
big, yeah.
You've got
And
the
a
key,
and a
but I
clock.
could have the big lengths.
A
You
clock.
know, it's kind of like a version of Mr. T, but with a cheap
So Flava Flav.
chain. Kind of like that. Yes, yes.
Flava.
Not a clock
What?
though.
Okay,
I want,
yeah.
I want what was really hanging at the site, which was a genuine key, a door key.
So you told us after we got off. By the way, we're going to answer questions in a couple seconds. We do have some here.
We're a little busy
This
right
is
now.
the shenanigans part of what we do because we haven't seen each other yet. So this is kind of
Catch
like
up.
you can throw them in there. You damaged our leader, Dylan said. He still talks okay. He just can't move his arm.
yeah, you don't need one shoulder
I've
anyway.
said that I want to hold Pastor Randy's hands up. Up, not in. I need to get him up. There's a ton of comments here. I'll go back through these. Okay, you did run from YouTube actually. Back to those in a second. But you told us following the Facebook Live about another time when you were. This was back when you dressed up a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share that story?
I have a lot of strange incidences occur in bathrooms. Okay, so this is back in my old Baptist church, and I actually wore a tie.
Say it again.
Back in my old Baptist church, I wore a tie Sunday in and Sunday out, and I'm not sure to this day. Maybe I dropped a pen. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure why I would have a pen in the bathroom either. But anyway, I had finished.
He's in there using every second he had.
And that would be me. That would be me.
He's like, oh.
I'm still the same. I'm looking at that outline until the last second. At any rate, when I spun around, I was facing the toilet. I'm not sure why you would face the toilet unless you drop something, but
and
I
you
must have dropped
went
something.
Went to flush it, and you dropped the pen.
Maybe that was it.
The pen was in
at
your
any
hand.
At any rate, what I did not calculate was the length of the tie and the height of the water. You got to know these things. You got to know the length of your tie and the height of the water.
And the arm. It would be
The bend,
degree,
the degree of bend, the angle of body bend is another thing.
A
that has to
squared
be
plus B squared is Pythagorean theorem. We're basically doing Pythagorean theorem. The angle.
So the outcome was a wet tie that I could not take off because you just didn't take them off in Baptist church. No, especially when you're a newbie pastor. And so,
how old were you at the time?
let me think now. I started there. How old was I? 34.
Hey, Jennifer.
It was either 34 or 35, somewhere between 34 and 36. It started there when I was 34, but this might have happened a little later, maybe somewhere around 36. It's amazing to think I was once 36. That actually happened.
That was a thing.
It happened to me. It did.
So you had your tie. Was it for some reason I pictured like a maroon, like a red maroon tie, and then it stained about 3 inches up.
We can only hope that the darkness of the watermark showed to everyone. We can only hope, because it wouldn't have nearly the laugh impact without that. But I would just forewarn anybody that's still of a mind to wear a tie, calculate the angle,
distance.
the height of the water, the length of the tie, and the angle of the body bend.
So it is, but it's Pythagorean theorem, right? So you got a squared plus b squared equals c
Yeah,
squared.
you got to watch it.
You got-
Now, there is another thought on this. You could get a waterproof tie.
Oh, or you could just not dip your tie in the toilet.
I don't recommend it. If it can be avoided, I definitely don't recommend
Embarrassing things that have, and then
Yeah.
you got to go back on stage.
it. You got to roll.
You
man.
got to roll with it.
Yeah.
One of the musicians that I've traveled with, he used to take water bottles. Hopefully, there's no kids watching, because I could get myself in trouble
Be
here.
careful.
But if you take a pin and you just poke a hole, are you familiar with this?
No.
You poke a hole in the very top, like with a pin. Even a push pin will work. Now, the best way to do it is to go from this side out. It creates a very, very small hole. And what happens is, if the hole is small, you can squeeze the bottle, and it will create a very, very light stream of water.
An arc.
Well, and what you do is you would walk up to somebody, you would hold the water bottle at your side, and you squeeze it while aiming it in a specific direction at someone. And you were able, especially if someone was wearing jeans, to create the appearance of soiling.
It's like the Billy Madison.
Just
The
like
Billy
the Billy
Madison.
Madison.
The Billy Madison.
You're not cool unless you pee your pants.
Unless you pee your pants, you're not cool.
And the video is going, and I gotta walk back out on stage. So literally, I'm like trying to
That's
lower
funny.
my guitar, because that was back when you wore your guitar a little higher back then. Now it's a little bit lower. It was horrible. With this. Yep.
I can think of things worse, but we should probably answer
We should
questions.
answer the question. All right, we've derailed. Get the train on track. Here we go. There are actually a lot of people watching. So, our first question comes to us all the way from Alabama.
Alabama.
I made that up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I was like, really?
Yeah.
What?
If we know a person, wow, we're going. I mean, we diving
And
right
this
in.
actually, we missed this last week.
Okay.
I had missed it on the list. It related to last week's, it's 2 Sundays ago, that message on grief.
Okay.
Okay. If we know a person who dies that did not believe in God, had not put their trust in God, will our grief be worse knowing we won't be reunited with that loved one? Reunited with that loved one.
All I can do is conjecture about this. I mean, we know that there is not going to be, in the new heaven and new earth, which is 1,000 years after the return of Christ, there's not going to be any more, grief or sorrow or pain or crime. It is possible, and I'm not trying to make this terrible, but it's possible that for the 1,000-year reign of Christ, we may experience some grief over a number of things. Now, the thing we do know from just living in this life is that even 30 or 40 years can really impact the emotional reaction of memories.
Yeah.
Okay, so things that, when they're fresh, they just bring us to that place of tears or, great pain. 30, 40 years, we still know they happened. We don't forget it, but they don't have the same emotional impact on us. And so if you just look at what happened in 30 or 40 years, think of 200 years, 300 years, 400. So it's not as though we would be grieving for hundreds of years, or anything like that. The other thing to factor in is it could be that once we see things more clearly from God's light, we'll know that He did everything possible to try to reach this person, to bring this person to salvation. And we'll have so much more objectivity at that time that maybe that will diminish the pain some as well. So I can't say that we won't have some grief until the end of the 1,000 years, but we may not. It could be that, once we receive our resurrection bodies and a new frame of mind and all the wires are hooked up and the lights turned on, maybe grief as we know it now will be different. So, I mean, the Scripture just doesn't tell us. That's about the best I could guess on that one,
Let's jump down to question 2, because this one relates to
Okay.
death. So someone says, my dad passed away back in December. My mom recently read something, and it's really weighing heavy on her. It said something like, when we get to heaven, we will recognize people, but not what our earthly relationship was to them. So she's upset, thinking that her husband may not recognize her as his wife, and vice versa. So what does the Scripture speak to this?
Okay, so there's a portion of Scriptures in Luke 20 where Jesus is engaged in a conversation with the Sadducees. The Sadducees in Jesus' day, they didn't believe in anything supernatural. They didn't believe in the resurrection, especially. And so they think they can trick Jesus, and they give him this problem. You know, there was this woman, and she married this guy, and he died, and she married another guy, and he died, and on it goes, 5, 6, 7 of them.
Well, she had.
And then they say, okay, so in the resurrection, who's going to be your husband? And all Jesus says is that you really don't understand the Word of God. You know, he says, in the resurrection, they will be like the angels, and they will not give or receive in marriage. Now, people, and it's amazing to me how many people will fixate on that one passage and take it to its most uncomfortable extremes, such as this. You know, that, oh my goodness, you know, I've been with this, you know, spouse all my life, and now we're going to not know each other in heaven. It's not what Jesus was really saying. His answer was to show the Pharisees that the Sadducees, that they were wrong about the resurrection. And when he says that we're going to be like angels, he did not mean that we will become angels. That's another confusing thing, albeit we probably will become close to them in the degree of power and ability and capacity, and even the positions that they held, we will hold. But that's a whole different ballgame. But it doesn't mean we won't know the spouse. The truth is, we will know everyone we meet with a greater degree of intimacy. We'll have a greater degree of respect for them, admiration for them, and I expect a greater degree of closeness in this life. We labor to share our feelings and thoughts with another person to build closeness.
We want to be understood.
Yes, because we feel like now we're close. But I believe it's likely that when we enter into that realm, we will literally be able to intermingle spirits. I mean, kind of like mind read, feeling read. I'll be able. It's one thing for you to tell me how bad you feel about a situation, but I can't really feel your feelings. But I believe it's likely we'll be able to feel, because God is spirit, and He can feel what we feel from the inside. He's the only one that can. So what I expect is all of our ideas of intimacy in this life are a little bit darkened because of the world of sin and physicality and everything we live in, and the limitations that have occurred. I expect that the intimacy is going to be greater, but without any of the problems. We have problems in this life because we sometimes can't stand each other because we don't understand each other.
Communication?
Yeah.
Communication's a big problem?
Yeah, I think it is. Don't you?
Well, but like you said, if it's not a great word, but like telepathy or some form of commiseration that we're able.
If I could literally, when you feel sadness, if I could literally feel your sadness in my spirit, well, that's a whole different degree of intimacy, and that's what I expect the eternal dimension is going to be like. So I don't think this lady should be at all concerned that God's going to present her with a scenario that's going to make her sadder.
Right.
It's going to make her happier than she ever thought possible, because she will have a new degree of intimacy with Him. Now, what Jesus is teaching, though, is that the limitations. Okay, for example, you're closer to your spouse in this life than you would be to, like, let's say your next door neighbor or something like that, or your best friend. But in that society, everybody's going to have this degree of intimacy. So you're not going to lose anything, but you are going to gain something. Yeah. So I hope this helps. I know that's still maybe a little vague, but
it's not like it would be wiped away from the memory. Like,
no.
You were my spouse? Oh, and that means nothing? There'd still be like a...
Yeah, it's not like one of those movies where people are dead and they're brought back and they meet each other. I feel like we met?
And then a black cat runs in front of you.
I was thinking too, like thinking of a parent and child and how that relationship changes with time.
That's a great example.
And looking at my own, and then at some point your parents really become more like a friend. And then even later in life, like for my situation, many people, I became more of the parent for my mom and stuff, caring for her. So that there's just a new, again, it transitions to a new kind of relationship that is better. It's
better. That's it. All we've experienced is the limitations and exclusivity of the relations in this world, but they're going to be greatly expanded. And I've said this in the past, but I don't think it comforts somebody like this lady. But I've said, picture the perfect day. We've all kind of had that day. You're surrounded by friends and people you feel safe and secure with. You love them, they love you.
Like a birthday.
Everything. Yeah. You still pouting about that?
Did you not wish him a happy birthday?
I did.
He did.
Belated.
No, he did.
It was the same day.
He texted me, yeah.
Just a little.
Okay.
No, I was just, like, that was a nice day. Yeah, it's good. Like, everyone was really nice to me. And kind of, normally they all treat me like trash. But that day, they were nice. Just kissed me in the morning. It was fantastic.
You're having one of those wonderful days,
Great
wonderful
day.
times. You're surrounded by people that love you, you love them, and weather's perfect like that. And you just feel this unity and this bliss, this euphoria almost. And yet you're not intimate with any of them in terms like with your spouse, but you're connected. So I expect the heavenly, experience to be like that, only even higher. Because I think we can safely expect the intermingling of spirit to spirit kind of connection. I think we fumble through this life trying to establish that. I'm not trying to be crude here, but I think that sex is about that. It's about we want to know what it is to be absolutely united with someone, just like the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. They're three, but they're one. They're united. They feel what the other feels, and I think we pursue that in this life, and we fumble our way through. But I think we'll have that in the world to come. So I don't think that person has anything to worry about, but I understand the fear. Yeah.
I've heard that a ton.
Oh yeah.
People say that.
Yeah, of all verses, people will,
That's what's taught.
We can't understand. Even science accepts the fact and it professes that our minds function so far below their capacity.
Yeah.
Mammalian.
Our mammalian capacity. I said mammalian.
Charles.
One.
Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin here.
Well, it's been great having you with us. We'll see you now. Okay, got another one for you here. But anyways, I love you always say that. That may not mean much to some when you say, the switches aren't all on. They're understanding, like even, we'll obviously get new bodies, but even the capacity now that we're able to function in because of the fall, our genetic makeup is kind of flawed in a way now.
Absolutely.
When we're digressing. So, anyways, okay. Why is Solomon considered to be the wisest man when he did not actually live wisely? I always thought wisdom wasn't just knowing what is right, but also doing what is right.
That is a good question.
That's one of the
isn't it?
best ones I think we've ever received.
I think so.
Did I ask that question?
It's my question.
Okay. I'm curious to see how you answer. I asked my dad this question like 25 years ago.
Oh,
Sitting at the
wow.
kitchen table. So let's hear what the boss.
Okay, so Solomon, the scripture's clear, he was given this wisdom gift, from God. And at that early stage of his life when he was humble, he absolutely, without a question, was probably the wisest human being that ever lived. People came from all over the world just to hear what he had to say. He's Book of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes, however, was when he was disregarding the wisdom that God gave him. So you can have enlightenment. You can know what is right and good and what is best. But it's another thing to follow it. Okay? And so what we have in Scripture is that Solomon's God-given strength became, I believe, the cause of his downfall. And I think you find this a lot in Scripture, and I think you see it a lot in life. Your area of greatest strength will often become your area of downfall. And I think the reason is you become a little bit, without knowing it, you're not feeling it necessarily, but you're becoming a little bit arrogant. You're believing your own press clippings a little bit. When you get into an arrogant state of mind, you're susceptible to all kinds of bad behavior, bad decisions. You are evaluating what you want, what you desire. You become your feelings, your desires, more important than anybody else, and you make bad decisions. Now, Solomon, clearly, it says in First Kings chapter 11 that it was toward the end of his life that he was swayed by, I always get a kick out of it, by his many wives, 700 and 300 concubines, which always sounds like a pastry to me. I don't know why.
Concubine?
I always think of like a cinnamon bun or something. I don't know why. It's like a concubine or something. I don't know.
Cinnabon, concubine.
But anyway, my man had 1,000 women. And that'll set you crazy. I don't care how wise you are, your wisdom is gone. Is gone. But all kidding aside, just because God had given him this wisdom gift, it didn't evidently force him to submit to the wisdom that he had. And so it's just that interesting thing that free will can be so terribly misused. Great gifts that God gives us can be terribly misused. Some of the people that have the most potential for good can turn it and become the most damaging, you know. So that's as close as I can come to that
So
one.
he was kind of wise for a period, and then
Yeah.
he became foolish. He could almost say he was the wisest and the most foolish man who ever lived. I mean,
I think that would be safe to say.
Times of his life.
Anybody that had 700 wives and 300 concubines.
Concubines.
cinnamon buns.
It's like a bear claw, an elephant ear with the.
He definitely was the most foolish. I'll just put it like that. So he was the most wise and the most foolish. I think that's really an accurate thing to say, because when you have the greatest wisdom and you completely live contradictory to it, that inevitably would make you the most foolish.
Yeah.
What you said first reminded me of what my pop said, and he had said that I remember sitting like at our kitchen table, and he's sitting there with his Bible. He reads his Bible almost every day. Like that was kind of how his morning started, with a cup of coffee. And I'd come out, groggy from the night before. And I had that question. I'm like, well, it doesn't make any sense. This guy's brilliant. Like, how does... And he just like looked up and said, well, wisdom and obedience are two very different things, which is kind of what you started with. You kind of started there. You said, he had... I'm like, oh, you can be brilliant and still make horrible decisions. Not live... You said you can be brilliant and not live in accordance with what you know. And it sounds like that's what he did. Pride played a role. Very cool. Go ahead, Pastor Kim. Give us another. Well, actually, let me catch up here. Can we catch up online here?
Yeah.
We got tons of stuff coming in. Mark is watching South Carolina. Is it South Carolina?
What? South and North. I think it's North.
I'm sorry, Mark. I think it's North Carolina. He said he's just got out of Planet Fitness, 35 minutes on a stair stepper, and we are lifting him back up. Fantastic. Miss Becky Ann says, get the train on track. I'm sure that's old. Kathy Kiske, good afternoon, y'all. Becky Ann. Amanda, Richie said they broadcast the baptism. They watched it as well. Listen to music. Back to there.
He's mumbling.
Carolyn Holbrook says hi. Kathy Kiske.
It's like
Dawn Brace.
Mike's brain was so fast that his words, like a sentence, would be like one word, elongated.
Dawn Brace. Hi, Dawn Brace.
Oh yeah, Dawn. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. Haven't met Miss Dawn? We're not friends.
Yeah, why is that familiar? I know her.
She and her mom moved.
Yes, Dawn. Yes.
She's the.
Oh man. Out. Yeah. Hello, Dawn. I miss you.
Was it okay to have extra wives and cinnamon buns back in God's eyes?
No.
No.
In fact, to be very specific, the kings of Israel were warned specifically not to multiply horses, not to multiply wives, and not to multiply gold. And they were also mandated to read through the scriptures that existed at that point once a year.
Yeah.
So.
Dawn says she misses you from the church. I can't tell what. Oh, it's the train. Somebody posted. Ashley posted a picture of the train. Okay, I think we're pretty close to caught up. Miss Dawn was just saying hi. Oh, some deep theological insight here. Okay. With the tie.
You're messing with me, I can tell.
And the toilet. There was one other solution we did not mention.
Okay.
A tie clip.
Oh. Yeah.
There it is.
I was
all these years.
I was pretty primitive in those days.
You could measure down to the tie clip, and that would give you your Pythagorean. You could almost use it like a.
Yes. yeah.
Measure it out.
That's I could have gone with a bow tie for that matter.
Yeah,
would have eliminated a lot of things.
Jennifer Bennett says hello. Okay, Dylan's still dogging me for hurting you. Hello, all. Looking forward to worshiping with you again on the soon. Okay, great. Yes, Miss Jennifer, you're awesome.
Okay, I'll jump on this great big long question.
This is a big one.
So, Katie, we're finally getting to your question.
And she's been so patient.
She has.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I think I was by Katie last Sunday, and I'm going to tell you, if I was her, I didn't want to stare, but my girl was rocking out.
She's a worshiper.
Oh,
yes.
she was rocking
Katie
out.
loves to worship.
And I was like, man, I wish I had the moves. I'm the only man to come in the Southeast with no moves.
What happened?
No, I don't know, man.
This is what you get.
Somebody else got my
You get the
moves.
hand. You get a little rocks on you.
Yeah.
You give the clap.
She's got them
But
all. She's got them all.
Hands up, going
Yeah,
out. Okay.
yeah.
She danced like David. All right, let's go.
Katie's question. So she's been watching your God-shaped heart, and in it you really deal with the penal substitutionary sacrifice theory of atonement. But then, so she gets like why that's not really scripturally accurate. But where does universal justice?
Yes.
How do you understand that? Because you talk about
I do.
the cross satisfies
Hit
universal justice.
Hit penal substitution real quick. Don't go deep.
No.
No.
A little. It didn't go.
It's good. It's accepted.
Yes.
It's pretty widely
Yes.
accepted.
The most prevalent theory of the atonement, which just means the sacrificial death of Christ on the cross,
What did it accomplish?
is that he was paying for each of our individual sins. So his suffering was equal to what I would have to suffer in eternity for my individual sins. So there's a penalty that has been paid by Christ so that I now do not have to pay the penalty. Now, that's the most prevalent view of Christ's death on the cross or the atonement, but that view didn't exist until the Reformation, somewhere like the mid-1500s. So you have to consider that every Christian prior to that, going all the way back to Jesus' day, did not even have that kind of a view in mind. It did. I think I got it.
You all right?
I think it's a mustache hair worked its way off my mustache.
Wasn't that the hand you were taking?
It de-skinned itself, the mustache hair, and jumped onto my tongue.
Man, that was fancy.
Man.
You could see it all of a sudden. It jarred you.
It was a little scary. It was a little scary.
I can't wait to back that.
All right,
We
so-
need to back that one up.
So anyway, so that's the prevalent theory.
Yes.
It didn't exist until the 1500s. All right. So I introduced a view of the atonement that I call the dynamic reconciliation theory. And it's built from Scripture, and I gave umpteen
Oh,
scriptures.
you use Scripture to... Okay. So it's one approach.
and
That's one way to do it.
I want to say that a person's salvation is not dependent upon their view of the atonement. There's at least 7, probably about 8 or 9 actually, views of the atonement.
Plus mine.
Plus yours.
My view
I
of
haven't
the
heard yet. Okay. So universal justice. So I do bring that up though, that Christ's death, his sacrificial death, also satisfies universal justice because there has been a breaking away from God's order. Okay, so now I'm going to have to go way back in time. So here's the deal. Picture yourself, you're an angel now. So it's nothing but angels in the Lord. Satan starts talking trash on God, spreading slanderous ideas about God to the other angels. Next thing you know, there's a outward rebellion. And so a whole third of them he convinces, but 2/3 they stay loyal. And so Satan rebels, the angels rebel, they break the universal law which keeps the universe secure. God in essence says, my will is the only way that life works. It's the way of love, and we cannot allow any other way. Any other way is going to bring hurt to the universe, hurt to individuals, hurt to everybody. So then they do it, and God does not stop them. Now this gets back to my concept that I utilize a lot. God determined that it was better. It was better in focus of what he's going to accomplish in eternity. It was better to allow evil for a little while, to actually let it exist, to let it express itself, to let it bring pain.
Fruit.
The terrible things, even like what we're experiencing right now, or watching in Ukraine. I mean, horrible things. God determined it was better to allow evil for a little while so that he could finally abolish evil forever. Now, why you say finally abolish it forever? Well, obviously, evil started in his holy presence. It started in a holy environment. It started amongst holy beings. So holy beings also have free will. So God was going to do something that would cause image-bearing beings with free wills to never, ever be tempted again to break union with God's will and ways and so forth. Yet, the question looms, God, this is hurting us too. You got to understand, these 2/3 angels, they're watching all the havoc, that's resulted, and they're traumatized. But it's hard for us to understand because we've lived in a world with evil. We're born into it. And particularly we of the TV generation, we watch this stuff on our screens and we're just desensitized to it. But picture yourself being a holy being, you've never seen evil in any shape or form before. It started just with a thought, the thought that, why can't we have equal power with you? If you love us so much, God, why don't you let us experience what it's like to be worshipped? And so it sounds like a pretty innocuous thought, and it's kind of, makes you wonder, well, why, if you really love us so much, why do you hold all this power only to yourself? So God allowed it to exist so that the rest of the universe, the loyal angels, and eventually humans can see this is why God will not, well, first of all, he cannot. He's infinite, and an infinite being can't give equal power to a finite being. It's just an impossibility. But anyway, so he allows the evil to exist, but it creates questions. The book of Colossians talks about, chapter 1, verse 20, 21, that God is reconciling things in the heavenly realms through the cross of Christ. The angelic realms were riveted when Jesus was on earth, and they were really riveted when he went to the cross. 1 Corinthians 2 talks about the evil side of those angelic entities, that had they known had they known what God was up to, because I can't really quote it word for word, they would have never crucified the Lord of glory.
They were like, oh man.
Because what they did by crucifying, Satan was just really venting the anger that had existed in him for so long. But what he was doing was he was allowing God to reveal for time and eternity the depths of his glory, the purity of his love, the unselfishness, how sacrificially good he is, that we can never be safer with anybody than him. We can never do better for ourselves than his will. So let me go back. I'm going to drift on this.
No, but
so nevertheless, justice, because the question in those angelic minds until the cross was, but you're letting them run loose. I mean, you said that no one can do this, and you're letting it be done. So that's a destabilizing force. It makes them feel a little insecure. And so justice in the heavenly realms looks different than justice in the earthly realms. Let's face it, justice in the earthly realms, it's arbitrary. So like you rob a bank, and they say, okay, we're going to put you in a cage for 10 years. Well, what exactly does that do? You know what I mean? And so it's arbitrary. It's meting out punishment. But there is a premise that's valid. You're trying to deter future crime. Mm-hmm. Okay. The greatest deterrent the greatest deterrent against evil doing, the greatest deterrent is this revelation now that God has given of himself in Christ, his sacrificial love. That destroyed all the slander of Satan. That God's, he's all about himself, and he's holding you down, and he's depriving you of power and knowledge and experience. What it shows, that was all a lie. It shows that Satan was evil through and through, had no reason to be discontent. And so it establishes a genuine deterrent. Okay, once we see the glory of God in Christ on the cross, it's like, oh man, I don't want anything to do with evil in any way, shape, or form again. I see it for what it is. I see God for who he is. My trust in him is riveted. Nothing can change it. Nothing can stop it. So justice, universal justice, is established. It is satisfied. I'm uncomfortable with this term propitiated, because it's been given a theological connotation that is inaccurate. The theological connotation of propitiation is that Jesus took the wrath of the Father on him so that the Father can explode on us. It's a terrible, terrible image of the relationship between the Father, Son, and Spirit.
Makes God seem angry.
But propitiation is a legitimate term when you're thinking in terms of satisfying justice, because there is organizational structure in the heavenly realms. God has seen fit that we derive the best kind of life when there's organization. I mean, we could see it when organization works well on earth. It's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So whether you call it organization, whether you call it judicial structure, whether you call it law or legislative structure, it's there. God has legislative structures as well. So the sacrifice of Christ, it satisfies that universal justice. It satisfies those questions. That's why when you read in Colossians 1, 20, 21, it talks about he's reconciling. That's where I get my dynamic. Yeah. And there's another one in Ephesians chapter 3, verse 10, and it says that the angelic hierarchies are learning from the Church of Christ as they watch us becoming reconciled to God because of his revelation in the cross, as they watch us fighting sin around us and within ourselves because we are so devoted to God. These angels that have never had to live in this kind of a realm, they're learning, and they're all kind of, this is my imagination, but I think I can say they're all saying, wow, God, wow, the thought that we ever even had a question in our mind, oh my goodness, you're more... Sorry.
He has a heart, guys. It's in there.
You're more amazing than I ever could have dreamt. And so his willingness to endure pain himself, and God has been in pain since the allowance of evil. Yeah. He knew what it was going to bring. The cross was just a manifestation in time. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get this out. Anyway, that's what I meant by the satisfaction of universal justice. It answers all the questions. God allowed evil for a little while so that he can abolish it forever. So all the questions about why isn't God punishing evil immediately, why doesn't he step in and stop evil, and all these kinds of things, they're all answered. And it's the sacrifice of Christ that does uphold justice. Justice is different than punishment. And that's a whole big, long conversation for another time. But anyway, I hope that answers what she was asking.
Humanity was the first opportunity for God to, one of the first opportunities to demonstrate the parallel between evil and good, and what. Yeah. There was no opportunity for the angelic, like that picture you painted for me one time in your office of all the angelic beings watching. Again, you think about a third of heaven pulling away. And imagine if a third of our population decided, hey, we're seceding from the Union.
Right. Which is run through my mind a time or two.
But, so God says, okay, I'm going to let this play out.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow this. And
he's going to let himself be misunderstood because it is a sifting mechanism. He had revealed enough goodness of himself to the angelic community that he was like, okay, if you guys are going to jump ship, I'm going to let you jump. But you're going to see. You're going to see. But your point was it's an amazing one. Once it explodes in your head and you see it for what it is that God was able to reveal himself comprehensively by making himself smaller. It was when he took on humanity. Philippians 2, that whole passage about God emptying himself, So it's as he became human that the whole universe could see, oh my goodness, because think about it, they would have never known this side of God.
No opportunity.
They knew he was good, they knew he was kind, they knew he was powerful, but they had no idea that he was merciful, first of all, forgiving, and that he could forgive safely and still give security to the universe. I mean, it's tons and tons of things that the cross of Christ unpacks. That's why when I hear preachers, talk about, I'm preaching the cross. And all they'll do, man, is say, they drove those. Do you know how big those nails were? Those nails, they're not like our little nail. They weren't a 6-penny nail. It wasn't a 16-penny nail. It was a big nail.
They pound the pulpit.
Yeah, they pound the pulpit.
You got to pound the pulpit.
I'm preaching the cross, And when they whipped him with the cat and they put little pieces of bone in it. Did you know the bone ripped the flesh away? And that is, don't get me wrong, it's true, but that's not preaching the cross. When you get into what I believe the Holy Spirit just waits to reveal to human beings and angels about the cross, your mind just explodes. I mean, it's you. Like me, I can't stop it. I get completely overwhelmed when I focus my mind on it. And anyway, I'll stop.
Well, so the heavenly beings see Jesus come to earth, and like, wow. Why is he doing that? And he obviously he lives. He grows up as a human.
Yeah.
But the penultimate, why is he getting on a cross?
Yeah, exactly.
What is happening?
Yeah,
that's the.
Why isn't he resisting? Yeah. Why isn't he?
They're waiting. All of a sudden, when they come against him, he's going to be like,
boom,
boom, yeah. And he keeps saying that.
I'll
The kingdom of
show
God
you
is at
my
hand.
power.
Yeah, this is who I am.
And that was the Jewish expectation for the Messiah.
Exactly.
So even the disciples, I think the reason that
war
they
and-
panicked when Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane is they were like, now this is the time he's going
Yeah.
to break bad. You know,
He's going to flex on him.
Yeah,
He's going to flex on him.
Yeah. And when he just gives up, they're like, what? I mean, Peter makes one sweep with the sword. Now you know he wasn't aiming at that guy's ear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very precision swordsmanship. I think he was swinging at the guy's neck, and the guy was he was a boxer. He was moving. He was bobbing and weaving, yeah, parrying. But their panic, I think, was authentic. I think they did trust Jesus, but they still had that flawed messianic expectation, and that's what made them look so terribly bad. When that all went down. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like the angelic perspective of humanity, the incarnation of Christ, the crucifixion, for me, like you said, it just like exploded in my head. And you're like, wait a minute, like what were they thinking this entire time? And that there was no opportunity to see his true character, his true deity, because he was all powerful.
Yep.
He was omniscient. He was everything.
Yep.
But he was
It's
merciful,
crazy to
humble.
think about, but being the only all-powerful, invulnerable being in the universe, but you're also this gentle, humble, loving being who I'm not going to get through it. Who authentically loves the beings that he creates and wants to be completely one with them without us all the time being scared. Oh man, I hope I don't say the wrong thing, because this is what we as finite beings do. We cannot relax around an almighty, invulnerable being. So he had to strip himself of this and show who he really is inside, and that sets the universe for Revelation 21 life. Never again any more temptation. We are literally immunized from temptation.
We've seen.
It will never happen again. Yeah, and that's why even though it happened in a holy environment once, it will not happen in a holy environment a second time because of what God went through. And I don't know that we'll ever fully fathom what it was like for a holy eternal being to truly go through death. I mean, that's where all my light switches are off. I don't know. I can't even fathom that. I don't know what that means. So
It's the full manifestation of sin, the fruit of sin, and a divine revelation, like at the same time.
you hit it perfectly. And one other one, the full revelation of Satan. Satan's slanderous campaign was exposed for what it is. That the most beautiful life that the planet had ever seen, he took every opportunity to
This is going to take a long time. If you don't pull it together.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Like a third of this is all you overwhelmed by God's
Blubbering.
I was thinking last week we were
Aren't you glad you tuned in to hear me blubber?
You never know what emotions you're going to get here. It might be hysterical laughter or overwhelmed with.
It's really, I mean,
I
it's incredible. We're wrapping up here. I'll end with something funny here. Okay. Were you ever a part or seen like the passion plays that churches would put on? Do you ever see that stuff?
Vaguely, loosely, yeah. And of course, again, they sort of overemphasize the bang, bang, bang.
So there was one when you were talking about Peter, which I had never thought. Like maybe Peter thought like this is it. Like this is again they thought war.
Yes,
Right?
the Messiah was going to go to war.
He was so Peter's like, they're coming. The
Can
soldiers
you
are
hand me
here.
another tissue now?
He's like, this is it. This
Yes.
is my time. He wasn't aiming for his ear. He was going
yeah.
forehead.
oh
Like,
yeah.
he was gonna- Well, that is a very often acted out scene in church passion plays.
Oh yeah.
And there's a few people I think that are still watching.
You mean the sword part? Peter and the sword
Really?
is acting
Oh,
out?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Where they come to get him
Okay.
in the garden and
Well, I'm going to tell you, he would have to
No.
be quite a precision swordsman to
Well,
lop
that's
off
what
that
I'm-
ear.
that's what I'm
Unless he
getting
was
at.
aiming in some other place.
there's multiple blunders in here because we did 100 in the cast, 3-story set, live animals.
Oh wow! So you've done
Oh yeah, oh yeah. All you got They do all kind of goofy stuff. We see the well in the middle. Guys that put fish in the well. So people are trying all kind of crazy
You know what?
stuff.
It's that detail of that fish in the well that brings people to Christ. if you'd have left that fish out,
When you smell fresh donkey
you
crap
know
on
the
steak,
Lord is at hand.
The Lord's in the
He
place.
was a fisherman after all, or amongst fishermen at least.
So we had one overzealous Peter.
Oh, no.
And we used, like
real sword?
Real swords.
Man, y'all
they,
crazy?
They weren't like
See, you're Pentecostal,
sharp.
man.
You
You're
watch out, man.
Pentecostals, you use real swords.
Well, one time,
Only
this
a
guy-
Pentecostal would use a real
there's
sword.
No way. I wish I could see who else watching, so I could know if I have to screen this. But this person, there's a scene where they show up and he's like, "No, Peter, put away your sword." And he pulls the sword out and goes to hit him.
Right.
And so he has they practice this where you got to come down the right side
with a real sword.
with a real sword. But this guy was like, I don't know. I love him to death. He his hand-eye coordination
Oh, no.
was not exceptional. And at one point during one of our dress rehearsals, he bounced the sword off the collarbone of the soldier.
Whoa!
So now, keep in mind, the soldiers had, the helmets were like $140. It
Yeah.
was like a real metal with the
Yeah,
tuft, and so the
yeah.
ears were covered. But what wasn't covered was that shoulder.
Oh, my goodness.
And we're all like, "Oh, Joe, stop!" What do you? And of course, the guy's like, "Oh," walks over this thing. There's two others. There's another one where they wanted.
Oh.
This wasn't us.
Did it break his... was the sword sharp?
No. It looked sharp. But
Did
it
he
was
have
basically-
at least some thick leather
Yeah.
shoulder?
They had, but he still had a bump on his collarbone.
Oh,
from it.
my
Ooh,
goodness, man.
There's two other ones that happened. One,
You all...
well, that was just these other two were not us. That one, if somebody's watching that knows that story, it lives. It lives.
So
it is-
which shoulder was it? Was it this one?
No, it was not me. It was not me. I was Joseph. Hail Satan. No. Jessica was Mary. Okay, there we go.
Who would have thought
I
it?
never saw that one
There's
coming.
something about Mary.
And I'm still a virgin. A gig on the other side of the stage. I was a child. This other church, a friend of ours church, they had spears. What time is it? Okay, we'll close with this.
We do have one more question now.
Oh, we do.
Why couldn't we gotta save it? I got a meeting at 1:30.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know if he's here. He might be here. But they had a collapsible spear. This was a church I think they were in Texas.
Oh, I
It was
can
a
just-
collapsible
this is
spear.
bad.
And when they pushed it in, it was like $300 this spear, and it would collapse and it would push blood out the end. So do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It looked like it
I
had
can
like
just
a
tell
puncture
where
in it.
I can tell where this is going.
Well,
it didn't collapse.
They grabbed the wrong one.
Oh man, you're like what's his name that just shot the woman?
Oh, Alex
Baldwin.
Yeah.
Oh, it was bad.
Man.
It was bad.
So did it spear?
It did between two ribs. Yeah. Well,
Whoa.
he's you're like, we call them diapers. Like
Oh,
you're
my
basically wearing
goodness.
a diaper on the cross. It's like this.
Yeah.
Like a little. It has fabric and stuff, but you would put it on.
So they did this.
Oh, he got him, and it broke. Took him to hospital. That was not me. I was not a part of it. But like one of my friend's churches. The other one.
Any idea, at what point they realized it? So did they stop the play and get him to the hospital?
He yanked
Okay.
himself off. He yelped and pulled down. There's one of the crosses where the bottom pins
Man,
in, and it stands up, and
man.
they stand on
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
platform,
yeah.
get
Right.
the hands out, and the nail kind of bends around, so they put the
Yeah,
wrist in
yeah.
it, and he pulled himself off the cross.
Oh my
Fell to the
goodness,
stage.
that's one of the worst stories
It was
ever.
like, that was bad.
Had-
Other ones are other ones.
I just have one question. It was a Pentecostal church, wasn't it?
No, I don't think it was. It was. I can't say the name of the church. I don't want to say the name of the church.
Okay.
But it was. I'm pretty sure they're non-denominational.
Wow.
Yeah, and they spent.
We're usually a little cheaper and a little scary. We're fearful of real weaponry.
They spent like
Oh man,
Big-
$300 for a spear.
big
that
bucks.
Oozes blood.
I don't even want to tell you how much they spent, but
Yeah.
they spent a lot of money. Well, I'll tell you, they spent $500,000 in their production. Now it was a $60 million church,
Yeah.
and they would do basically.
20, 30 productions and
Yeah.
get tickets and sell tickets.
Yep.
Whatever. Yeah.
And they would pack the place,
Right,
and they would do
right.
2 weekends of it, starting
Right.
the weekend before. But yeah, it was rough. The other one was when a guy goes up and he's wearing the He's up, and they try to, like, he ascends, but they're missing one of the cables, so he starts turning around.
Oh,
He's got like just like tidy whities on.
Oh, no.
So Jesus.
Oh, no.
The back of the thing. All right.
Oh,
On that note, we
Okay.
don't catch you guys loose. I'm sure we're losing it.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of questions.
The
Oh, wait.
answer is churches shouldn't try to do things they don't know how to do.
Right.
Oh man.
Aaron, we'll get your question next week.
We will. There's
He
a
sent
bunch
his
of
in
comments
today.
and questions. It was so heated in the middle. I had to put some levity in there.
You had to change the
A little
temperature.
levity.
I
A
understand.
little levity.
I
And I
understand.
thought, give you a chance to make fun of the Pentecostals. You would enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
Join us this Sunday. Pastor Randy's continuing the series.
Cave.
That's what you're supposed to say it. He's continuing the series.
The cave, and this week it's the cave of compassion, or is it character and compassion? I switched them around. Anyway, it's the cave of
Compassion and character.
I, the Lord, love thee.
Concubine. Cave of
cave-
concubine.
The cave of compassion and character.
There we go.
Okay.
That's it.
And
Right now it is. But Sunday morning, he could walk into the booth 10
You
minutes
never
before
know.
service and say, hey, see that slide? Go ahead and change that slide.
that certainly is a possibility.
Thanks. Plan to join us. It's going to be great services.
Can I ask one last question real quick?
Yeah.
How did the apostles ever do a message
No,
with...
they're supposed to ask us questions.
Well, I'll ask them. How did the apostles ever get through a message without slides?
Oh,
I
that's a
know.
great question. How about preaching to a crowd
With no
of
microphone?
There you
Yeah.
go.
I don't
How
know.
you
That's a
preaching
mystery.
to
That's a
5,000
mystery.
people?
I blew my vocal cords out when I was a young Baptist pastor in just a room, a handful of people.
20 people.
Check that out.
Mm.
And on that note, these are the questions that we
We have.
ask ourselves at night. We got transubstantiation down. We got theories of the atonement down.
Yeah, yeah.
But slides.
Concubine.
Slides.
Was he more of a pro presenter guy, or was he a PowerPoint guy? What Bible did Paul use?
I bet you it was the King James.
That's what somebody told my dad. He said, I read from the King James Bible. It was the Bible Paul used. My dad was like, I use the New American Standard Bible. That was the Bible Paul would have used had it been available in large print. That was his
That's great.
classic.
What a
Bernie
great
Bible.
answer.
All right. We love you. We will see you on Sunday, 9:15, 11:15. Great things happening. Come be a part of what God's doing at FCL. Have a great week. See you then.
Bye.